Today, we are going to be covering the Maciejowski Bible Falchion. Again. Alrighty, so this was a Renaissance Fair find I found last summer, and I came across this particular falchion. The way it was displayed was on shelf. I had not seen the scabbard that they had made for it yet, so I didn't know that it was going to be a back scabbard. They did make a pretty nice attempt at trying to better the way of carrying it. This would be a very awkward tool to wear on your hip, and B, it's a very awkward shape to even make any kind of scabbard for. They made this in the way of doing a back scabbard. If you're just going to be carrying it, it does work. To say the least, it does work. It sits at a okay position and angle. However, because of the way the straps are done on the back for the top strap and the bottom strap, you're not able to actually draw it. When you actually draw this, the entire back portion of the spine of the sheath is actually open. You can see just how easy it is to draw out. In some ways, that might be a pro, especially since if you're carrying on your back, the spine is open, so it's facing downward and weather can't affect it. However, it's a drawback because if it's on your back, it's stuck there. You can't get it out. You are completely unable to access it until you specifically take it off of your shoulders and undo it. In some ways, it would have been better to, instead of making the sheath fitted to the blade, making it more of a large rectangular shape on the base up into maybe a point up here and have it sweep down into the rest of the shape so that it can still utilize that method of sheathing and drawing, but still be able to actually draw it more like a regular sword. The sheath is nice. It's a wooden core with leather wrapping. You can see the inside of the core, the lightness of the wood there. It has a little bit of embossing on the face of it for decoration, just kind of a simple checker pattern with dots in the middle, almost like the buttons of a couch. It does make it look like it actually belongs to someone, like they cared about it and they wanted to add some decoration to it, as if to say, hey, that's mine. Now to the main part that most of you are likely wanting to go over, and that is the falchion itself. This is actually a pretty beastly chopper. I have some complaints about it. One of the main ones being the blade is, like I said, it's beastly. This thing is actually heavier than the other falchion that I went over. Even holding it out like this one, being one-handed, is actually heavier than the two-handed falchion. The spine of it is also even thicker than the two-handed falchion. It adds a lot of extra weight, and most of the edge of the blade stops right about here, continuing up all the way to the end. So you end up with a lot more blade being left for the meat of it, rather than a tapered edge for it to actually function in the way that a machete-style tool would work. This falchion did come very sharp. I am hoping to, here in the near future, once summer comes in, I can get the stuff for it, do cutting tests with it, comparing it to other swords, as well as trying a few other things, such as brush clearing, because one interesting thing about this that I've seen a lot of theories of for this hooked handle, so I've adjusted my camera to show this, and the one theory I've seen a lot of people come up with is that hook was for hanging because it was a tool, not a weapon, something that a farmer would have for clearing brush, bivouacking, and being able to clear a campsite from undergrowth, things like that. The hook was specifically designed into the tool to hang on a nail or peg on the wall so that you'd be able to get it out of the way, keep it off the ground, not just leave it in a corner. And being, though, a bladed tool like that, it's about the same size of a sword, it is possible, if this weapon did exist as something in the historical period, this would be very much an easy, adaptable sword for any farmer. You immediately have a long, sharp-bladed instrument that's basically a falchion as it is. These things are, as I've said before, dubious of their existence. It's unclear if it was just artistic rendering in the Maciejowski Bible, or if it was actually, and this is my own theory about this, it's a theory, take that with a grain of salt. This could have been a one-off that an individual had made for himself as his personal weapon because he liked the idea of making it in this particular shape, and he was eccentric in that way. To do something historically with a falchion like this, it's not out of the question. It is in the realm of possibility. However, that is only my theory on the tool and not a statement of fact. Most of what I am doing on here is actually theorizing how could something have worked instead of would. So as the way this is made, they did add a fuller into the back of the spine. However, that basically serves no purpose with how much weight is still on this. It is still very heavy. I am considering taking this and putting on my belt grinder and dropping a lot of that weight by shaving off everything forward of that fuller down to the edge so that I can actually make this a more usable weight and size so that it doesn't feel like I'm swinging a 10-pound kettlebell in one hand because all of that weight is all focused in the blade. This thing weighs about 4 pounds, and that is a lot of weight to be putting directly in the blade. By comparison, there is very little meat to this handle. There is no pommel, no nothing. I'm actually grateful for that hook because a few times I've swung it, that hook has actually kept it in my hand and not flown out because this thing is a handful. My final verdict on my first impressions on this: if you see something on a Renaissance fair just like this, I actually would not recommend it. No, I would not recommend it for both the price and the quality of the tool. The steel is good, but because of how much work I'm going to have to put into it, it is not going to be worth it for the average Joe to buy and be able to enjoy anyway. It is very blade heavy and honestly unsafe for someone who's not used to holding and handling bladed tools such as swords and even, in a lot of cases, axes and hatchets, machetes, more standard modern tools like we see today. This is way too much for anyone to handle, so I can't recommend it in the state that it is. However, if you're the maker of these, like the official maker, I would like to be able to talk with you and share some thoughts and opinions on it. So that's my thoughts on the Maciejowski Bible Falchion, single-hander, hook handle, however you want to call it. Let me know what you think down in the comments and what you want to see next. Take care.